Tell the trustees you have not had a real job in 6 years, my brother said, sliding a stack of bank statements across the conference table. Grandma is dead because people kept protecting your lies, and today I am done protecting you. My grandmother had not even been buried yet, and he was already trying to erase me in front of the only people who could decide what happened to everything she built. Then I saw the silver probate seal on the gray envelope sitting beside my attorney's hand, and I knew he was making the same mistake he had made my whole life. He thought the most dangerous thing in the room was what everyone could see. The hearing was being held in the trustees' room above Hartwell Conservatory, the art school my grandmother Naomi built out of a bankrupt music academy and 40 years of pure spite. The building sat on a hill above the old river district in Richmond, with carved stone steps, a rehearsal hall wrapped in tall windows, and a donor wall my brother loved because he thought names on marble were the same thing as legacy. The conservatory mattered to my grandmother more than anything except control. Not affection, not family harmony, control. She believed art died quickly when weak people handled money, and she believed family died even faster when money moved without records. My brother Camden never understood that. He thought legacy meant stepping into the room first and speaking the loudest. He had inherited my father's chin, my mother's appetite for public sympathy, and the exact kind of confidence that only exists in men who have never had to prove anything to themselves. Across from him sat my Aunt Lila in black silk and expensive grief, one hand on the arm of her chair, the other on a legal pad she had not written on once. She was the one who had called the emergency trustee session. Her position was simple. My grandmother was dead. The family needed fast decisions. The school needed stability. I needed to be exposed before I stole anything else. That last part was personal. I had not spoken to either of them at the funeral home the night before. I stood by my grandmother's casket for 10 minutes, kissed her forehead, and left before Camden could corner me. That silence was apparently intolerable. So now here we were. A mahogany table. 4 trustees. 1 probate referee. My attorney. Their attorney. My brother performing outrage. My aunt curating it. And me. The daughter they had spent years calling unstable, aimless, secretive, and conveniently absent whenever real work was involved. Camden tapped the bank statements again. Look at the transfers, he said to the board. Small enough not to scare anyone at first. Then bigger. Then regular. My grandmother starts getting sicker, and suddenly Sienna has access to accounts she should never have touched. Payroll delays. Vendor complaints. Cash reserves moving. She shows up whenever there is a signature to collect, then disappears for weeks. And now Grandma is gone. He let the silence sit there like a verdict. I sat perfectly still. That always made him angrier. He needed movement. Tears. Flinching. A twitch around the eyes. He needed proof that whatever story he was telling about me was landing where he wanted it to land. I gave him nothing. The oldest trustee, Mr. Yarrow, cleared his throat. Miss Hart, did your grandmother authorize these transfers? Before I could answer, Lila leaned in, her voice soft and poisonous. She could not have understood what she was authorizing, she said. Naomi was on pain medication, increasingly confused and frightened. Sienna exploited that. We all know she has never kept stable employment, never shown a proper salary history, and never explained where she goes for months at a time. Now suddenly she is moving money through the conservatory and personal hospice accounts. There it was. Not just theft. That was always the real target. They did not only want my grandmother's estate, they wanted the official version of who I was to become so damaged that I would never have standing to challenge them again. I looked down the table at the gray envelope by my attorney Claire Monroe's hand. Still sealed. Good. The trustees did not know what was inside it yet. Camden did not know. Lila did not know. The probate referee only knew the court had authorized a limited disclosure package if family accusations rose to the level of formal challenge. Camden had just guaranteed that they would. Claire finally spoke. My client will answer, she said. But I would advise this board to remember that allegations are not findings. Camden laughed once. Then maybe she can tell us where she works, he said, since no one else seems to know. I almost smiled, because that was the part that always sounded strongest to people who had never understood the difference between hidden and empty. You could not find my work because it was not designed to be found, but I did not say that yet. Instead, I looked at the trustees and said the one thing that made Camden shift in his chair. This is not about money, I said. It is about control. Camden is angry because Grandma trusted me with information she never gave him. That landed exactly where I wanted it. Not because it proved anything, because it made him react before he had time to think. He slammed his hand on the table. She is lying. She was living in a furnished sublet in Baltimore 6 months ago and charging meals to a family account. She does not have a job. She does not have a firm. She does not have clients. She does not have a company. She has a pattern, and the pattern is showing up whenever an old woman gets vulnerable. The word old woman made something in me go cold. He had called our grandmother that once before the week she fired him from the development committee, after finding out he used school funds to entertain donors at a private club. She heard him say it then, and she never trusted him again. My grandmother Naomi Hart founded Hartwell Conservatory when I was 8. By the time I was 15, the school had a chamber program, a scholarship wing, and a waiting list for every summer session. Camden loved the donor dinners. Aunt Lila loved the gala committees. I loved the ledgers. That should have told everyone something early. Most little girls do not spend Saturday mornings in the bursar's office, learning how to reconcile receipts, unless they grow up in a family where numbers are the only honest language. My father died when I was 21. After that, Camden became the heir apparent in his own mind. He loved saying things like, "One day this place will be mine to protect," as if a building full of music needed his jawline more than a working budget. My grandmother indulged him in public, and documented him in private. She did that with everyone. 3 years ago, when she first started forgetting names and repeating stories, she called me into her office after hours and locked the door. "If I lose time," she said, "they will come for the soft parts first." I knew exactly who she meant. Not strangers. Family. She already suspected Camden had been moving donor entertainment costs through side invoices. She already knew Lila had been pressing her to simplify the trust, which in Lila language meant make it easier to capture. She already feared that a visible internal fight would scare donors and staff before she had proof. So she chose the one person they all treated like a ghost. Me. At the time, I was working under sealed contract assignments for a court-supervised financial oversight unit that assisted in complex elder exploitation and nonprofit fraud cases. It was not glamorous. It was not public. It was also exactly the kind of work that leaves no ordinary footprint and trains you to see lies in the way invoices line up. My grandmother did not ask me to save her. She asked me to watch them. That was 18 months before she died. At the table, Camden was still talking. "We should freeze every account she touched," he said. "We should challenge any late-stage directives. We should suspend her access to the residence, the archives, the donor files, everything. Everything." There it was. Too much. People tell the truth when they ask for more power than they need. One trustee, Mrs. Beale, frowned. "Why the archives?" she asked. Camden answered too fast. "Because that is where she has been hiding things." I finally looked at him directly. "No," I said. "That is where Grandma hid them from you." The room changed a little then. Not enough. Just enough. Lila leaned forward, her voice all satin. "Sienna, stop making this uglier. Naomi was ill. She was vulnerable. If you manipulated her while she was declining, say so now and save everyone months of litigation." The cruelty in that sentence was almost elegant. "Confess now, and we will call it mercy." I folded my hands in my lap. "You brought me here to admit I am who you have always told people I was," I said. "Unemployed. Unstable. Parasitic. Convenient, really. The only problem is Grandma kept records better than you lie." That made Camden smile. "Good," he said. "Then show them." He thought I could not. That was why his confidence always smelled like cheap liquor and inherited furniture. He had no idea what Grandma and I had prepared for this exact room. Claire placed one hand on the gray envelope but did not open it yet. "Before we proceed," she said, "my client requests that the probate referee acknowledge receipt of a sealed court-authorized disclosure package and the related standing order governing its release." The referee nodded. "Acknowledged." Camden rolled his eyes. "What is this, some kind of theater?" "No," Claire said. "It is what happens when the wrong people accuse someone without understanding what they are forcing into the record." That line hit harder than I expected. Not for Camden. For Lila. Because she was smarter than he was. She heard the danger in it first. "What exactly are you claiming?" she asked. I answered before Claire could. "That Grandma did not leave me unguarded," I said. Mr. Yarrow looked from me to the envelope. "Miss Hart, if there is a court-supervised issue affecting this trust, this board needs clarity now." "Yes," I said. "It does." Claire slid the sealed packet to the referee. The order was opened in silence. No one moved. The only sound in the room was the faint thrum of the rehearsal piano from the floor below, one student somewhere in the building, still practicing scales while my family tried to eat the institution alive above her head. The referee read for 30 seconds, then another 30. His expression changed slowly, not into shock, but into the flat concentration of a man, realizing he had been sitting on top of dynamite without knowing it. "Mrs. Beale spoke first. "What is a protected fiduciary monitor?" Camden frowned. "A what?" The referee looked up. "Miss Sienna Hart was appointed under sealed probate supervision 18 months ago as a protected financial monitor and reporting agent for Naomi Hart's conservatory trust holdings," he said. "Limited disclosure authorized due to documented concerns of internal family interference, retaliatory removal of records, and potential asset diversion." The room went perfectly still. Camden's face emptied out. Lila did not blink for a full 2 seconds. I kept my eyes on the grain of the table because, if I looked at either of them too soon, I might enjoy it before it was finished. The referee continued. "The sealed order further states that ordinary employment disclosure was intentionally restricted to preserve investigative integrity, while Miss Hart conducted financial review, donor tracing, and end-of-life protective payment oversight on behalf of Naomi Hart and the court." Camden laughed once, but there was no humor in it now. That is insane, he said. She is my sister. No one answered him, because for the first time in his life, who he was to me did not matter. Only who I had been to the court. Claire opened a second folder and began placing copies in front of the trustees. These are the summarized findings cleared for board review, she said. Full materials remain under restricted access pending referral. Mrs. Beale took the first page. Mr. Yarrow took the second. I knew what they were seeing. Unauthorized donor entertainment reimbursements routed through educational outreach lines. Development expenses billed to scholarship reserves. Cash withdrawals tied to Shell Consulting. Invoices approved through Camden. Personal renovation charges for Lila's townhouse hidden in facilities maintenance batches. Hospice expenses paid on time by me, while family members delayed approval of ordinary care costs to preserve appearance of liquidity. And underneath all of it, month after month, my notes, my signatures, my grandmother's countersigned instructions while she still had full capacity. Every soft thing they thought they could exploit had been recorded. Lila found her voice first. Naomi never would have done this to family. Wrong, I said. She did not do it to family. She did it to people stealing from her school while calling it concern. Camden shoved his chair back. You set me up. No, I said again. Grandma let you keep behaving like yourself. That was the line that split him. Because it was true. I had not planted fake invoices. I had not made him bill donor dinners to scholarship reserves. I had not made Lila push for trust simplification while Naomi was in hospice. I had not made either of them call emergency board sessions before the burial, because they thought speed could bury scrutiny. They built the trap with appetite. Grandma just made sure there was a witness. The referee cleared his throat. There is more. Of course there was. The final page in the cleared packet was the page Camden had unknowingly begged for when he demanded I explain where I worked. It was a limited professional standing certification, one the court had authorized only if my credibility was formally attacked as part of a trust challenge. Not a full resume. Not every case. Just enough. It identified me as a senior field examiner and protected financial monitor attached to a state-supervised anti-exploitation unit with prior service on multi-state nonprofit receivership teams and emergency estate preservation actions. No wonder there was no normal salary history. No wonder there were long absences. No wonder there was no ordinary office line to call. My whole life Camden had pointed at what he could not see and called it nothing. Now the record had just confirmed it was the exact opposite. Mrs. Beale set the page down very carefully. Miss Hart, she said to me, were you the one covering payroll last autumn when the scholarship account froze? Yes, I said. And the hospice nursing extension in January? Yes. And the emergency roof payment after the flood? Yes. Camden made a sound that was almost a protest. You never told anyone. I looked at him. You never asked because you did not want the answer. You wanted the vacancy. That shut him up harder than the court order had. Lila tried once more. Even if all of this is true, Naomi was confused by the end. She could not possibly have understood every line item she signed. Claire slid over another exhibit. Capacity certifications from 3 separate dates. Witnessed instructions. Video memoranda. You are welcome to challenge them, she said, but you will be doing it after this board records that you initiated a bad faith accusation against the court's own protected monitor and attempted to suspend the only person preserving the trust you were draining. Silence again. Not empty silence. Collision silence. The kind that happens when everyone in a room can feel the old story dying at once. Mr. Yarrow took off his glasses. Effective immediately, he said. Camden Hart and Lila Westcott are suspended from all informal financial contact with conservatory accounts and records pending full review. Miss Hart is confirmed as interim operating protector under the sealed order until the court directs otherwise. This board will cooperate with all referrals. Camden stood up so hard his chair tipped backward. You cannot do this to me, the referee answered before anyone else could. She did not, he said. The record did. That was my favorite line of the day. Not because it was dramatic. Because it was clean. No room for argument. No room for family mythology. No room for one more version of me built out of their contempt. Lila sat very still, but I could see the panic beginning around her mouth. What referrals? She asked. Claire did not bother softening it. Fraud review. Fiduciary misconduct. False accusation. Interference with protected estate oversight. Possibly more after forensic expansion. Camden looked at me like I had become someone else in the last 5 minutes. I had not. That was the point. I had been this person the whole time. Competent, trained, trusted, careful. The only difference was that now the room had papers it respected more than his voice. The meeting ended in fragments. One trustee began crying quietly. Another left to call outside counsel. The referee sealed the packet copies. Claire collected signatures. Camden kept trying to speak, but every sentence arrived too late. Lila never looked directly at me again. I stayed in my chair until the room emptied enough for the rehearsal piano downstairs to become audible again. Same scales, same student, same building. The school had kept breathing through all of it. I liked that. Claire leaned close. You did not even look surprised, she said. I was not, I said. No, she said. I mean them. I looked at the place where Camden had been sitting. He spent 20 years telling people I was a ghost, I said. Men like that always think the reveal will belong to them. Outside the funeral, lilies on the front steps had started to brown at the edges. It was late afternoon by the time I walked down to the small recital hall. Staff had already heard enough to know the tide had turned, but not enough to know how. They watched me the way people watch a locked room after they hear something break inside it. I found Maribel, our facilities manager, by the back corridor. Are payroll and vendor releases still covered through Friday? I asked. She nodded slowly. Yes. We thought Naomi had arranged it somehow. She did, I said. That was the truth. Even now, even after death, my grandmother was still doing the one thing she trusted more than love, planning for betrayal. The burial took place the next morning, under low clouds and weak sun. Camden stood across the grass from me in a black coat that suddenly looked borrowed. Lila wore dark glasses even though there was barely any light. No one from the board spoke to them except through attorneys. When it was over, Camden caught up with me by the path to the cars. You could have told me, he said. I stopped walking. That sentence was so perfectly Camden that for a second I almost admired it. Not I am sorry. Not I was wrong. Not what did she know, just you could have told me. I looked at him for a long moment. Grandma did tell you, I said. Every time she asked where scholarship money went. Every time she rejected your simplification plans. Every time she made you sign one more internal control sheet. You just thought consequences were for other people. He stared at me like he wanted to say something bigger, something that could drag the old version of me back into place where he understood it. Nothing came. Good. Some stories do not deserve a graceful ending. Over the next month, the conservatory board moved fast. Not like Camden fast. Not grab and hide and rewrite. Proper fast. Audits. Donor calls. Payroll stabilization. Scholarship restoration. Restricted access logs. Internal cleanup. There were outside referrals too, though Claire advised me not to ask for updates, unless I wanted my life to become nothing but waiting rooms and signatures. I took over the office my grandmother had used for 25 years. On the second day, I found a note taped inside the bottom drawer. If they force the packet open, do not waste your first honest day on mercy. That sounded exactly like her. I laughed alone in the office, and then for the first time since she died, I cried hard enough to lose time. Not because Camden had been exposed, not because I had won, because she had known I would need the note after. That was the part no one ever sees in these family wars. The aftermath is not always relief. Sometimes it is finally having room to feel what the fight kept postponed. By winter, the conservatory was steady again. The scholarship fund had been replenished through insurance recovery and donor intervention. The gala committee was gone. The donor wall stayed. The students did not care who lost the meeting. They cared that their recital lights came on and the pianos got tuned. That was enough for me. People in town changed how they spoke to me too. For years I had been Camden Hart's odd sister, the one who disappeared, the one with no visible life, the one people lowered their voices around because no one knew exactly what went wrong with me. Now they did not know what to call me at all. That was fine. Names are overrated when the paper is finally correct. The last time I saw Camden before Christmas, he was coming out of a side entrance to the civil courts building with his lawyer and a face he had not learned how to wear yet. Small, uncertain, real maybe for the first time in his life. He stopped when he saw me. I waited. He did not speak. That was even better. Because the man who had built himself on narrating me had nothing left to say. I kept walking. That was enough too. They brought me into that room to prove I was a thief, a drifter, a ghost who fed off dying women and hidden accounts. Instead, the room recorded what I had been all along. The one keeping the lights on. The one carrying payroll when they carried rumors. The one my grandmother trusted when trust became expensive. They thought silence meant emptiness. They thought absence meant failure. They thought if they said unemployed often enough, the truth would start to sound embarrassing. What they never understood is that some work leaves no trace, because trace is exactly what the work protects against. And some daughters survive families by becoming unreadable, until the record has somewhere safe to land. Camden wanted a public ending. He got one, just not the version he wrote. When the winter recital opened that December, I stood in the back of the hall while students in black concert clothes waited under soft stage lights for their cue. The program still said Hartwell Conservatory. The doors still opened on time. The scholarship seats in the third row were full. Grandma would have liked that more than revenge. Not because she was soft, because she believed the cruelest thing you can do to greedy people is keep the institution alive after they try to feed on it. The conductor lifted his hands. The first note rose, and for the first time in my life I did not feel like a secret in my own family. I felt like the record. That was enough.